Magic Conj, will I ever get to meet Tom Kenny?
Maybe someday.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance. Okay. Should I tell fans of the show how they can support us?
Yes.
Goofy Goobers, supporting the show is shockingly easier than catching a blue jellyfish. Right from our Anchor page, anchor.fm/SpongePod, you can find links to all of our social media and a support button if you happen to have a few extra clams. Also follow us on twitch.tv/SpongeBobPodcast, where it's not only the official home to our sister show, Video Bob Game Pants, it's also where I stream live drawings of various Nickelodeon characters and host the opportunity for commissions and giveaways. Lastly, the official merchandise store is now open at redbubble.com/people/SpongePod, where various designs will be uploaded inspired by our show, including our official logo, which is now available on a multitude of products like t-shirts, stickers, duvet covers, and even a shower curtain. This is a podcast by a fan, for fans, and will always be fan-driven. Any way you see fit on supporting our show is much appreciated. Thank you, and enjoy. Oh my God, what is the outro of the podcast doing right at the beginning? This is a quick reminder, just like the episode that was up. For anybody who has been following along and who doesn't know already, July 1st, 2020, tomorrow, is the launch of our sister show, Video Bob Game Pants. Originally at Mixer, but due to their closing, we moved the show over to Twitch. So you can follow us at twitch.tv/SpongeBobPodcast, just like in the intro there. Follow us there, and we'll see you at 8 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to have a blast. It'll be nice to get some of the fans out there communicating. I'll be on chat. It'll be a nice little event for us. Those will start happening more frequently since this is the first one. Of course, SpongeBob eventually has 1 million video games. So in these first seasons, the spread is a little bit more wider, but we're going to get more to those video games. And as I've said many times, the plan is for me and others to begin streaming a little bit more regularly, especially on that channel. Everything on SpongeBob Podcast will be family friendly. If you happen to miss the live stream, don't fret. I'm going to save the entire video, and that'll be uploaded in chunks on YouTube anytime we do the Video Bob Game Pants episodes. So, July 1st, 2020, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/SpongeBob Podcast, Video Bob Game Pants Episode 1. Let's start it off with a bang, and I'll see most of the Ready crew there. Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to another episode of I'm Ready, a Sponge Podcast. I'm keeping it. Welcome to I'm Ready, a SpongePod Squarecast. I'm Captain Eric, and I am joined today by the first time we've ever had him on the show. It's not going to be the last, and it's incredible that we're finally recording after months of living with each other through this pandemic. Give it up for my pseudo-roommate and aspiring actor, Cole Riverwood.
Woo! Thank you so much for having me on.
Also,
I'm so excited.
I've always strived to make this podcast transparent, and I'm not about being perfect. Literally 3 times. The first time my mic wasn't recording, and then the second time we went almost this exact amount of time talking and realized that your mic wasn't recording, and here we are. 3rd time's a charm. So any of you aspiring podcasters out there, just take note. Be open about your mistakes and learn from them, which I clearly haven't after all these episodes on the show.
That's okay. We're still trying.
And see, you're an aspiring podcaster too. What about podcasts do you like specifically? And are there any out there that that you love?
Podcasts are fun, I think, because so often it's just a conversation face to face like this with a friend, and anyone who wants to listen can listen, and you can talk about whatever you want, and it's really just such a tight-knit community of people that just enjoy talking to each other.
Yeah, and it's really all about helping each other out.
Absolutely, it is.
I'll be on your show, you be on mine, and it's just co-promotion, and it's wonderful to see.
Working off of each other.
This has been. I did mention that you've become the de facto 4th roommate in my home during this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
craziest time during my life, and
I think
you're a
fair
bit
to
younger, so
say
it's got to be for
mine
you
as
too.
well. Yeah.
Where it's like stay home, don't go don't go outdoors. You can't go anywhere because everything is practically closed.
Right. No
and-
visiting people. No.
Yeah, and if you happen to be walking down the street in the most social distancing way, you still get dirty looks by on-passers and cars. Like,
Yeah.
that person's out walking. What are they doing?
On the sidewalk. The
Without
nerve.
a plastic suit on? How could they?
Where's the plexiglass?
Just walk around with a big sheet of plexiglass in front of your view at all times.
My own personal window.
So yeah, now you were going to school for acting.
That's correct. At the University of Connecticut.
Yes. Big shout out to UConn there. How you've enjoyed yourself thus far?
Yeah, it's been a great program. Unfortunately, it's come to really a screeching halt, but I was a sophomore in their BFA program.
Okay. Yeah, that's a kind of a shame. But to be fair, this this kind of situation that we've been in is like we mentioned, it's unprecedented, and I don't think anyone was ready for this.
That's very fair to say.
Yeah. Luckily, we have the internet, and everybody has phones or laptops, and you're still able, Zoom calls and online classes. You're still able to kind of function.
You're still able to function. You're still able to connect with those people, even though you're not in the same room together. But I'm not going to lie and say that it wasn't really difficult to keep the motivation up and to keep the work up, even when I was at home.
Right. Because you transitioned all your classes, I'm going to guess, were in person, or were any of them
Studio
online
classes,
only?
yeah.
And you transitioned all of those to online.
Yeah, with like the snap of my fingers, it was just one day I was at the university in the studio. The next day I was at my house over a webcam. It was just insane how quick it was.
Yeah. For other classes, I would ask someone if it was like math or science, what you would prefer. But I imagine with acting in person, it's just you can't really beat that.
Oh,
being in the
absolutely
room.
not.
I mean, it's like seeing a play. You can go and see a movie, but seeing a play live is a whole different experience than watching something on a screen.
For sure, half of the atmosphere, I mean, half the reason you go see a play is the fact that it's live, in person, happening right in front of your very eyes. And it's still live over a webcam, but there's not that energy with
Right,
the other person.
right. And those moments, like a movie is been in post-production for months. They try to cut out any mistakes they've made,
Yeah.
erase their wrongdoings. In a play, someone could mess up, or a prop could mess up.
You just gotta keep
Something
going.
could go wrong. You gotta act around it.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta keep going.
There's no second takes when it's a show day.
There was when I don't think I've ever mentioned this in the podcast before. So for anyone listening, I was in drama club for 4 years, mainly
Ooh.
you as well.
I
Same
was.
program, different
Different
instructors,
years, but yeah.
different years, different instructors. I was mainly a stage manager. I enjoyed behind the scenes. I did have a yearning to be on stage, but during high school, it just didn't feel
Sure.
Not to say I'm a bad actor, but there was clearly people who really loved acting and wanted those big roles that I was like, I don't want to get in the way of them. And we did The Odd Couple one year.
Oh, really?
And out of one of the 3 performances, I don't know what fell, but something on the set. It was a very intricate set because the thing about The Odd Couple is it only takes place in Oscar's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So you just build his apartment and you just stack it with stuff. You make it feel real. And I forgot what fell over, but it was some decently big
Something
piece.
important, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
and in the middle of the line, it was already an argument between Oscar and Felix. And the actor who played Oscar, like they both look over. The crowd laughs. And Oscar, shout out to Jeremy, who played Oscar, looks up at Felix and was like, and that's your fault too. And it was perfect, and it fit everything, and those guys were so wonderful together. They primarily the reason why they picked The Odd Couple, because it was like these two, Jeremy and Joey, were just the 2 main male actors in that whole that crew I was in. Do you remember any like big mistakes happening on stage?
I remember in the very first show that I did,
Which one was that?
it was called Murder for Dummies. And
Okay, yeah, I helped make videos for that. That was your first one?
yeah, that was my very first one. I had never been in a play before that.
Okay.
And And, of course, I had a very small part, had one line. It was a spectacular line, though. I delivered it. Mwah, perfect.
Sounds like my role is the cop in Footloose.
I think I was a cop, too.
Hey, you better quit that dancing. That's all I did. I was in the church in the beginning, and then I walked in the school and yelled at Ren for dancing in the hallway, as if
that
a
is
cop is
great.
supposed to do that. But
But the whole book, I'm sorry, the whole play revolves around this one character whose name I cannot remember. He has a book. He finds a book called Murder for Dummies, and so that book is a recurring prop, and he's supposed to store it in a cabinet that's on stage. Well, he goes to open that cabinet, and the book's not there, and you just see the blood drain out of his face as he realizes that the book's not on stage.
please tell me he went off of that. Where's my book?
He did, and what was even more is that, he was yelling, he was like, where's my book? I can't find my book. And then he just looks off stage left, and he walks off stage left, and he's just off stage, and all the actors are looking off stage like, where'd he go? And he comes back, and then he runs across stage again, yelling, where's my book? And he goes off stage right,
Oh my goodness!
and he still can't find it.
Where?
And he's just been walking back and forth until someone is finally like, I found the book. It was under the table. Whoa.
Yeah, stage crew miss up there.
Yeah, prop just
don't
wasn't
know.
where it was, but
Prop
I mean,
master. That's the key. That's the anchor of the whole show. So without that, you can't really.
absolutely. It's a miracle that we found it because I don't know how we would have gone on.
I think you
without
could,
it.
because a part of that show I remember was that the book had a narrator who would step, kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He would step
Yeah.
on stage and read what was in the book.
You're right. You're
So you
right. So
probably-
it could have gone on. It could have gone
They
on.
could have been creative with it, but it's those moments that like I said, it's just you can only get that in live theater.
Absolutely.
Of course, the episode we're gonna view today, and I was hoping. I gave you 2 episode choices. And I was
Both very good episodes.
yeah, you gave up fun for Culture Shock's great, but I was like, this fits more in a conversation I can have with you, because we would be having this acting conversation regardless on what episode is being played.
You're absolutely right.
You said you didn't do your talent show.
I did not
for
do my
senior
talent
year.
show.
Did you attend at least?
I don't even think that they held one my senior year.
Really?
Yeah, I think that with all the construction work going on at the school, they
Oh,
just
that's
didn't
right.
have the capacity to hold one.
That's a shame. Oh man.
Yeah, because I would have jumped at the chance
Yeah,
to have
I
done
figured-
that.
I shockingly, all that pent up acting I wanted to do, I exploded on my talent show, because I didn't do just one act. I didn't do just 2.
How many acts did you do?
I was a part of 3 acts
Holy
and
cow.
co-hosted it.
Really?
Yeah, there was a host. I'm not gonna get. I'll tell you his name off a recording.
Okay,
He's a
all
very
right.
good friend of
All
mine.
right.
He was hosting the show. Seth Price. He was gonna be the host of the show, and whatever, I don't remember the teacher in charge of this. I don't think thought he was. I don't know if it was being prepared or that she may have thought that he wasn't going to be a good presence on stage. But I was asked an hour before the show, can you co-host with Seth and come up with some skits? And I was
You're
like,
telling me someone handpicked you
yes.
to co-host this talent show? That is phenomenal.
I think because they saw we didn't have that many people. I still have. We can actually watch my talent show. I have it on disc.
No kidding.
Yeah. We didn't have that many acts. I know, and even a lot of people double dipped. One of the ones I was a part of, and shout out to Bill Daig, our class president. He was a part of 2 acts. One in which he helped his friend with a martial arts showcase.
Oh.
He was the aggressor in that,
Oh,
regard.
yeah.
And then he came out, and I think it's called a kalimba.
Oh, the instrument where you pluck it with your thumbs. It's pretty tiny.
No, you know what? No, it's. I don't want to. It's not a xylophone, but it's something more intricate. But it's
Okay.
similar with. So he played 2 or 3 songs, and we came up with an idea that we would. Another friend of mine who we did Electric Avenue, our dance number.
Iconic.
That's where it came from.
That's where Electric Avenue came from?
Not the song, but our dance. Our dance. We dressed up as a plug and an outlet.
Oh my gosh.
And we did that dance on stage, and then at the end we bumped chests, which then broke apart all the cardboard we put together.
Brilliant work.
But we decided, we were like, hey, Bill, you know it would be really funny if we rickrolled the audience during, like finish the songs you're going to do and then do another one, and like 10 seconds in, we'll rickroll you and go up on stage in blazers and sunglasses, and then you get really angry with us.
Did anybody know?
No. Other than Matt,
Eric.
Bill, and I.
Oh my gosh.
And I think Brian was helping out I think he came to help Nate out in the light booth. So it was like, hey, he's going to say, I think he finished, I think it was like 3 songs. And then in the 4th, he was like, and now for my final number. So like whenever he says this line, count 10 seconds
and then
just start playing Rick Astley.
Never Gonna Give You Up.
And
Oh
we just
my
went out on
goodness.
stage. And so that was my 3rd. We did Electric Avenue, and then I did a solo song. Justin Rodson, shout out. I'm dropping a lot of names here that mean absolutely nothing to no one out there, except for Enfield.
Enfield
Justin
represent.
Rodson, music teacher, fantastic genius with music. Was able to come over the day of, and I played him the part of The Wedding Singer where Adam Sandler's playing the guitar on the plane, and he learned that song, and I sang it on stage.
He learned that song for you.
He learned that song, played it with me.
That's so magical. I really love music teachers like that.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't a teacher at the time.
Oh.
He was in
just
my
a
class.
friend. Oh
he was just
my
a friend
gosh.
who came over.
Oh, I misunderstood completely.
I was like, it's a pretty simple song, a guitar, and we played it like he got it down within a half hour. And then
that's
I
a
was like,
true
okay,
friend right there.
I'll see you tonight. Yeah. And then I think I did that first. But then, mind you, between singing, dancing, rickrolling, I'm hosting the show.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Shows you the amount of people who came to our talent show. We actually had it was like maybe half-packed house. But yeah, not a lot of people signed up, which is a shame because I think a lot of people would have talent that they would probably not deem good enough to be on stage and like showcase.
Absolutely. Like we don't teach kids that some of the skills that they have are talents, and it's like only if you sing, only if you play an instrument, only if you can juggle knives or something. I don't know. Is that a talent? And it's so sad because
if somebody came up with a slideshow of like I can't bring like I'm into gardening and this is my home garden at home. And I've done all, showing off what they were doing. Even if it's not something tangible you can bring, showing off your talents in some way, I think we should push that more. Like,
advocate for kids to be more vocal about their talents, even if it's not deemed necessarily a virtue,
Yeah, or like exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember from the talent show this year, they did one online. So I since graduated, I was not able to partake in it, but
you still should have said something.
I should have. You're right. They'd be like, "Who is this guy again?"
Just shave a little bit and just like, I'm in a senior. Hey, here's my video.
But one kid played Beat Saber. Like, he didn't even show his face. He just, like, submitted a video of him doing Beat Saber on VR, PlayStation VR. And I'm like, that's fantastic.
Imagine him on stage, and then it's being projected behind him.
Oh,
and
that
he's
would be
just
so epic.
Exactly. That'd be fun. Oh, man. If you had to go on a talent show right now,
oh, boy,
what would you decide to do?
I think that if I had to go into a talent show right now, I would like to choreograph a stage fight and make it look like I was beating some guy up, and we'd have like
fake
this
blood.
Fake blood, whole like maybe makeup, prosthetics. Like, I would make a whole show about.
Have you ever seen the fight from They Live?
No.
Starring Roddy Piper and Keith David. It is known, and I think Guinness Book of World Records has it as the greatest cinematic fight ever.
No kidding.
Because they
well, then I'm missing out.
They have a knuckle brawl in an alley for like 15 minutes straight.
Oh my gosh.
It's nonstop, and it's not like how action movies are now. It's slow and drawn out.
Really? So there's like ups and downs in this fight of like, I'm into it, now I'm out of it.
And they're just they keep going, and it's obnoxiously long.
That reminds me of the Family Guy chicken fights.
Yeah, it's kind of like those, except for those are a lot more epic.
Oh yeah.
We mentioned we're both into Broadway. We're both into plays. What is the what is your absolutely favorite Broadway play?
Oh wow, that is a loaded question. I
I
have
know
to
it's
say,
loaded.
I have to say, when I fell in love with Broadway, my favorite musical was Les Miserables.
I was about to say I can make this easier by saying favorite classic and favorite modern.
Ah, okay. Well,
'Cause-
then yeah, my favorite modern would have to be, and you know, a lot of people don't agree with me on this, but I really, really loved Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it didn't win the Tony, and then it got into a really big fight with like the executives of Broadway.
Yeah.
But Josh Groban was in it, and it was like this huge production where they completely redid the theater to make it look like a Russian pub, and it was one chapter out of the entirety of the book War and Peace.
They just were like, we're gonna do only one. Wow.
Yeah, the entire book. It's like one little chapter that no one pays attention to. This guy made a whole musical about it.
Wow.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
So like I'm already. Is it? I'm guessing it's not playing anymore.
It is not playing anymore. It closed. It lost the Tony for Best Musical to Dear Evan Hansen, and I think that came out in 2017, I want to say. And it ran for maybe a year or two, and it just wasn't making money, so they had to pull it.
And is there any recordings of this play out there, like from Broadway?
Unfortunately, not very good ones.
See-
There's like some bad tapings out on YouTube. I have never seen a professional taping, though.
I have always felt bad that when Broadway shows close, for example, you have two shows, at least one of these two got somewhat of recording. There's, of course, SpongeBob,
Thank God it
which
did.
I would say is my favorite modern Broadway play. Like
Yeah.
modern meaning of the last 10, 15 years. And
Mhm.
that'll probably change on July 3rd when I watch Hamilton for the first time on Disney Plus.
Oh my
Hashtag
gosh.
not sponsored.
Hashtag.
But my Beetlejuice, I was really
Oh, you
I-
liked Beetlejuice?
I didn't get to see it.
Oh, were you gonna see it and then?
Well, I wanted to,
You know.
and then obviously they announced they were being closed
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
and then of course I think their last show was going to be in May, and of course everything
Just
in the
couldn't
country
happen.
shut down like February, and I felt so bad for them. And there's, as far as I know, no like professional taping of that show, and Beetlejuice, among so many other Broadway plays that come and go, and I always feel like every show there should be a company out there that offers like, hey, if it's your last week of shows, we can do a big professional recording of your show with different
Oh
cuts,
yeah.
and then you know we give you the final product and then you can sell it online like
think-
like a movie on like iTunes or something.
That sounds like such a good idea, and that sounds like something that I know that I would personally pay for because there's so
Right.
many shows that I've missed the
You know,
chance to see.
obviously shows like Lion King and Harry Potter that are going to be around for years, like
Mhm.
those don't need recordings.
You
Go
know,
and see 'em.
Wicked, Book of Mormon, they're always going to be there.
Right. But then those smaller shows that like might be popular, like Tootsie or Back to the Future, and then just have that we're closing, and then you're never going to see this unless we decide to make a touring version, which some shows just don't get that honor.
Great Comet never got a touring version. Like
show?
they just Great Comet, the one that I
Yeah.
was just talking about, never got a touring version. They just kind of released
there-
the rights onto, I don't remember who owns it, but a musical theater company owns it now, but they never toured.
That's a shame.
It is a shame.
That is something like just your description of it. Not that I ever read War and Peace, but the idea of taking a single chapter and making a whole that
It's
I
just
love-
a mind bending.
I love
Yeah.
I love crazy ideas.
Right,
Those,
and that
those to
is
me
a
make,
crazy
like when I
idea.
heard. Look, I'm a fan of SpongeBob unapologetically.
No.
But when I heard, yeah, I know, right? When I heard they were making like an actual musical with aspirations of going to Broadway, I was like, yeah, there's some things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And that's one of them.
I was very skeptical.
But that's why you should do it. Because
Yes.
you shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. The production value of SpongeBob was so high. That's what made me notice it. Because I thought that it was going to be like some human in a styrofoam costume with a sponge.
Yes,
and
anybody
I
I
was
spoke to-
disgusted.
When they were first, I think it was Chicago. It started out in, and
Yeah.
there was production photos of the idea that the whole set was going to be made up of objects that that in their mind was like this sunk to the ocean and it's a part of the set.
Oh, like sea trash.
Right. And I remember talking about it with Nate, and he was like, he was even skeptical about the idea of the show
It's
and the
hard
look.
to envision it.
And when I saw it on stage, there was especially one sequence which you've seen the show,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a sequence with when Sandy and SpongeBob are climbing up Mount Ginormous, or
Yeah,
and
at the
it's-
end.
and it's literally 3 carts with, I forgot the actual name of them, dollies or something, carts with cardboard boxes that they're intricately, like, it's spinning. They have stage hands
Yeah.
physically spinning this, very simple structure to build and making it seem like they're climbing up higher and higher during a song.
It was like a spider web of dollies, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god. The first person I thought about was Nate, because I'm like, he is always about minimal stage design,
Mm-hmm.
and this he would love. And I knew he's got to see this show, and that's why I brought him. I was like, when it was going touring and I got offered comp tickets, being a SpongeBob fan,
It's pretty amazing.
yeah, he was like, you got to go see this show. And I think up until after we left, he was pretty skeptical and like, it's gonna be kiddie.
Yeah.
I think after you get past the first number and then you start seeing just how wonderful it is.
SpongeBob wowed a lot of audiences. I was really impressed personally with how, like, they had different artists compose each song in the soundtrack.
Right. So nothing sounded super similar. Everything had its own little flair.
Yeah,
Although I always wonder how much, like, I know Cyndi Lauper added to a song.
she did. She did Chop to the Top.
Right. How long was she there for? It might be
Oh,
one of those things
gosh,
where somebody comes
yeah.
in and like, oh, it's mostly done. Do you want to tweak a few things? And you get
You wanna
full
mix
credit for
it?
it? Yeah. And we'll just give you full credit for the song.
Maybe. I know that Brendan Urie actually wrote, like, Not a Simple Sponge. Like, that's a song that he wrote for himself to sing. And then they got Ethan Slater to sing it. Like, I didn't
God
think
bless Ethan Slater.
genuine. Can I just say, it was so weird to see SpongeBob ripped. Ethan Slater is ripped. He is buff,
Ethan Slater put on his muscle arms.
and I have never seen a buff SpongeBob before, and wow.
I love
Wow.
those names: Ethan Slater, Gavin Lee as Squidward.
Hmm. Wesley Taylor is Plankton.
Both shows that I saw it on Broadway on its last day.
Wow.
Its second to last show. I saw it at like the 12 o'clock, and there was the 6 o'clock show.
That's incredible.
And I got Gavin Lee's signature on my, because everybody floods the backstage door
Mhm.
and they come out, and I got a few autographs. I didn't get Ethan.
They didn't come out my performance. I was so disappointed.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I got Wesley Taylor. I got pretty much everybody except for I forgot the girl's name who was playing Sandy, and then Ethan didn't come out, but Gavin came out.
Gavin was spectacular.
Both shows, standing ovation after I'm Not a Loser.
Oh, he deserves it. It's so impressive to watch this man tap dance on 8 legs.
4.
Oh, sorry, yes, 4 legs.
But still, though, like in the suit, oh man, he's just, God bless him too.
He had to, like, relearn how to walk in order to play Squidward in those pants that they had him in.
Yeah, and 8 shows a week. And God bless, the one thing I loved is that I remember an interview with Ethan Slater where when he got offered the role, he went to I think it was his acting teacher or a mentor of some sort, and was like, I'm stuck between this very well-known show and a big role or SpongeBob. And the guy's response to him, and this is not verbatim, was like, hundreds of people have played that other character.
Yeah.
You'll be the first SpongeBob.
Yeah, absolutely. There is nothing like being able to be the debut actor
Yeah.
in that role, and he will forever be known as the first Broadway Squidward. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Did you didn't answer what your favorite classical Broadway show was?
My favorite classical Broadway show was
Yeah, like something that most people would know. Mine is The Producers.
The Producers. I think my personal favorite for a classic would be How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. I felt
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I fell in love with that show because of Daniel Radcliffe, who plays Harry Potter.
Yeah.
He was the lead in that show on Broadway's revival.
What year was that? Was that after Harry Potter, or just like in the middle splattering of the movies at some time?
I believe it was in the middle of the movies at some point. I want to say it was 2011.
Yeah, he seems like I always love it when actors decide to take a couple months or a couple years to just be on Broadway. Like, I'm going to do this one role for X amount of time, and then I'll go back and do some movies. But I don't know, there's something about that where you kind of, okay, they like acting.
Yeah, you get to see them in a different light, and you get to see them appreciate the craft in a whole new way.
Absolutely. So, because we can go on for hours.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
we will afterwards. But we're gonna take a break. We're gonna watch Culture Shock, and then we're gonna be right back.
Can't wait.
2,000 years later.
All right, welcome back. It sounds weird, and that's because the output is going through the M track, and now it sounds right.
No.
So we just finished watching Culture Shock.
Yeah.
Yeah. When was the last time you think you watched that episode?
Oh my goodness. It would probably have to be at some point when my sisters were still young enough to really love SpongeBob as
trying
much
to
as
say?
they did. I'm trying to say that they unfortunately moved on.
You know what's great about the stuff you grow up with?
What's that?
It's a bell curve where you love it.
Mhm.
You hit those tween years where, like, I remember when I hit middle school, and it was like one day watching Nickelodeon was respected by everybody, and then you're in middle school, and now you're the loser.
For watching
You're getting made fun of.
Nickelodeon
I got
still.
made fun of for wearing a SpongeBob shirt, the very first one I could ever find from Hot Topic in the 7th grade.
Your first SpongeBob
My
shirt.
very first SpongeBob shirt. Those same people had the audacity to ask me to draw them SpongeBob
Oh
5 years
my
later.
Gosh. Oh, look how the turntables.
I only specifically remember one person, but I just remember when they were like, "Hey, can you draw me SpongeBob?" And I wanted to turn and be like, 5 years ago, didn't you make fun of me for wearing a SpongeBob shirt? No, but then when you're an adult or you start getting over the whole like school vibe, you
Mhm.
then re-love the stuff you enjoyed as a kid.
Absolutely. I hope that happens with my sisters, but right now they're
Right
in
now
that
they're-
awkward spot where they can't be kids
Ew.
anymore. Yeah.
No, but SpongeBob is so popular. Everybody loves it. I don't think there would be someone who did like it that would be afraid to tell people like, well, I don't like SpongeBob.
You're right. It's gotten such a fame and such a truly iconic love from its fan base. I especially rest in peace after Steven Hillenburg died.
Yeah.
I feel like
one of
as with all artists, his show got so much more popular.
One of the few people celebrities that I openly like bawled my eyes out over. It was Robin Williams was one that really affected me because as a kid growing up in the 90s, you have the Genie, Mrs. Doubtfire, Flubber. If you got to watch Good Will Hunting or Dead Poet Society, like so much Robin Williams.
Eric, you would not believe what I'm about to say.
What? You don't like Robin Williams?
Robin Williams died on my 14th birthday.
I'm laughing because it's
What a
so
turn of events.
sad.
I know. I was so happy and then just immediately crushed. Absolutely. I didn't know what to do with myself.
when I got the word that Steven Hillenburg died, I was at work, and at the time I was a teacher helping out at a daycare,
Mhm.
and it was during nap time.
Oh.
When I was sitting there and I'm on my phone and I forgot where the first notification came from, probably on Facebook, and I was like, "This is not real.
It's
This is
devastating.
a hoax." I went to TMZ and there it was. Same thing I did to Robin Williams. It's the only time I give TMZ credit is like when it's on their site, it's not fake.
Is that I feel like I don't trust TMZ a lot, but like if it's on their site, you think it's true?
No, not when it comes to all news,
Uh-huh.
but when it comes to celebrity passings,
They usually are some of the 1st people to know.
yeah, they're usually some of the first people to know, and when they put it on their site, it's probably 100% verified.
Yeah.
That's why anytime one of those hoaxes go around on Facebook, like Robin Williams, my mother was at the top of the stairs, I was at the bottom of the stairs using this computer, and her telling, Robin Williams passed. And I was like, my mother is very much a gullible person on Facebook. Like,
yeah. So you
can-
immediately have to go fact check.
Yeah, I was
anything
like,
she says.
check TMZ, and I went to the page, and it wasn't there. I was like, see, nothing.
Mhm.
Checked maybe 2 minutes later, nothing. Then 5 minutes later, she's like, a lot of more people are posting about
Oh.
it, and I went to TMZ, and there it was, and I was like, and all night I watched I watched Aladdin, Good Will Hunting, and I watched an episode of Louis, that he was on.
He was on an episode of Louis?
We're gonna watch it later.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so Steven Hillenburg passed. That was a rough one for me because I don't have a lot of heroes, and I learned not to go into a story I just told someone like the other night as to why I stopped around my teenage years like having heroes.
Mhm.
Like, oh my god, I cherish this person, and then they disappoint you in some way, and you're like crushed.
Oh, yeah, that's hard to get over.
Right. So it's Steven Hillenburg. I am okay saying that he is a hero of mine, and there's no way there's ever going to be any bad news about him because from all cases of anyone who has ever worked with the guy or knew him personally, great man. So I don't have to worry about that one
I
news
have
story
heard that
coming
all
out that like
around.
Steven Hillenburg kicked puppies. I don't have to hear about that.
The esteemed marine biologist kicks puppies. That's not true. Do not take that out of context, please.
Yeah, don't just take that and like, according to this SpongeBob podcast, Steven Hillenburg kicked puppies.
Not true. Again,
Culture
not
Shock
true.
season 1, the first part of episode 10 premiered on September 18th, 1999. What were you doing at that time?
Eric, I was not born yet. I was
Oh.
born 2000.
Is it weird knowing that things happened before you were born?
I mean, that's yeah. Of
I
course it
was
is.
laughing at this episode before you were even a thought.
Oh gosh. I mean, you say that, and I feel so small and young, like a
Oh,
ripe
man.
babe.
This episode was written by Paul Tibbett, Mark O'Hare, Doug Lawrence, mind you, who remember I showed you that episode of Rocko's Modern Life where they're in the boats?
Yeah, that was a good episode.
Yes, Doug Lawrence played Filbert Turtle.
Oh, no
Doug-
way.
Yeah, Doug Lawrence is also known as Mr. Lawrence, but he plays Plankton.
Oh my gosh. And he was also a writer for the show?
He is an incredible. If you go look at this man's catalog, he is an asset to every show he has ever been a part of.
Oh, wow.
He was a writer on Rocco, I believe, but also was Filbert and played a few other characters.
That gives me a whole new respect for him as an artist.
Yeah, and still a very strong writer for the show and has been there since the beginning. And obviously worked with Steven Hillenburg, worked on Rocco, and that's where he met Tom Kenny, who played Heifer, the cow on Rocco.
Yeah.
And then brought those two talents over to SpongeBob.
Thank God.
I know, right? Because that's your two leads right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So without getting into the crazy stuff, we don't have any crazy debuts. I completely. Look, I'm a big fan. I like to think of myself as an expert, but sometimes when he says he calls his parents, for a second I'm like, is this their debut? Oh wait, no. They already showed up in Home Sweet Pineapple in the part at the end when they go to pick them up. But if you're joining us, we're gonna play it in the background.
You know, when I was a kid, I still thought they were cookies. I was one of those people.
Yeah, because they look. What's so funny is they look like actual sea sponges, but SpongeBob stands out as a kitchen sponge.
Right, so you get this weird dissonance where they look so abnormal.
Yeah, and the square. Somebody has plotted out SpongeBob's family tree because a few other characters have showed up, but I believe. Like his grandfather, shown, was square and yellowish,
and
he
his
has a
cousin was like
Stanley,
really tall.
Stanley
Yeah,
has
Stanley.
square pants. So there seems to be this mix of you're either a sea sponge or you're a kitchen sponge somewhere in his family. I don't know what's the more dominant gene. It might skip a generation each.
Intergenerational kitchen sponges.
Yeah, you're a sea sponge and then you're a kitchen sponge. There was one piece of trivia I saw.
Ooh, I like trivia.
All right, this is the first episode to take place solely at the Krusty Krab.
No way.
Yeah. And we're going to put it on now. If you want to join us, join along with us. As always, I feel like I have to mention this every episode. It's just one of those things. I'm watching this on Amazon Prime, but if you have the first season DVD, usually I list the other DVDs. I'll even list VHSs. Or
Oh my! If you're watching on VHS, I have a lot of respect for you.
you want to give even more respect?
Okay.
I've viewed some episodes that are available on Game Boy Advance Video.
Oh my
and have
gosh!
mentioned
What?
if you watch along on Game Boy Advance Video, I have a trophy.
We will give you a trophy.
I want to give someone a trophy who can prove that they're listening to this podcast while watching one of the Game Boy Advance Video episodes.
That would be incredible.
So yeah, we're gonna play this on the background, skipping
Get it rolling.
the intro there, which we had this conversation.
Great
and
intro.
We didn't finish this conversation. I said it's the greatest intro, SpongeBob SquarePants, of any show. You said maybe second to that, Friends.
I said it definitely most recognizable. Like people will clap along.
Right.
to-
I was saying singing. Everybody would sing the SpongeBob theme song.
I think you're absolutely right
I think
about
any
that.
baseball game I've ever been to, when they start playing the SpongeBob theme song, everybody is singing it.
It's such a crowd pleaser.
Yes, it is. Totally shocked by this. I don't know if you, watching for so long, when this was new,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't question Mr. Krabs and his free salad bar, but because they've made Mr. Krabs, as time has gone on, so stingy,
Oh yeah.
it seems out of place
You
now.
never see something that says free inside
Yeah,
the
like,
Krusty Krab.
That word is not allowed in the Krusty Krab. But
Right.
then here he is in 1999 trying out a free salad bar as a gimmick.
And it doesn't work.
It would work for me.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Because
that's like the Ruby Tuesday mentality, right?
Cole, I was just about to bring up that the only reason I would go into a Ruby Tuesday
for the salad
for the
bar?
salad bar. And it's not even free. You have to pay for it. It's like
You
$3.
do. Yeah. It comes
No.
Yeah.
It's $3 on its own, but I think it's free with an entree. Like
I
if you
believe
get an
that's
entree,
true.
you have access to it.
Too bad our Ruby Tuesday.
Our Ruby
Up
Tuesday
and
closed.
left. Yeah.
Man, I could have single-handedly saved that place if I just wanted more of their salad bar.
Local man saves Ruby Tuesday.
Ruby Tuesday is on the hinge of closing, but one local man continues to give his entire paycheck.
Fight the good fight.
That guy also tipped SpongeBob with a penny, which,
A penny out of like a whole dollar,
yeah,
or maybe more. It didn't say a number on the bill.
it just
but
seems weird to imagine you giving somebody change and they give you a penny as a tip.
I mean, that's worth nothing. It's not even worth my time to take a penny.
It's only acceptable if the person tipping you makes a joke out of it. Like, don't spend all this in one place, you
Oh,
sonny.
yeah,
Haha.
give a little chuckle. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's still a jerk move, but it's like, all right, that
At
guy.
least you made a joke out of
Yeah,
it.
you made a joke out of it and you knew what you were doing. If I am ever in any sort of management position at a restaurant, I am absolutely going to pitch Mouthful of Clams Day.
Full of clams day.
You-
if anyone
It's a free drink. So if somebody is really going to walk in even with like a clam in their mouth,
then give that person a drink. I
give
mean, they
them a
got to get the
soft drink.
taste of a clam out of their
Yes.
mouth.
yes.
You know, I would actually follow along with a free pair of socks with every meal. Like, are you kidding me? I lose socks every single day.
This is the stuff that if this show was to ever get big enough to obviously there's live stuff planned down the road
For
this
SpongeBob?
show. No, for this
Oh, this show.
this podcast. But if I was ever at a level where I was ever going to play at a big theater,
Mm-hmm.
I got to point out SpongeBob's boyish enthusiasm right there when he was like, "The show! What am I going to do in the show?"
Yeah.
I love it. So if I was ever going to be at an arena, some shows have like their own little gimmicks. Like SpongeBob had his own little gimmicks of like I think when you went to the Broadway show, they had some sort of drink or food that was like SpongeBob-esque. Like they changed the
Oh,
name.
yeah.
I would definitely like give people a free pair of socks with every purchase of
That would
this,
be
or
such a great
mouthful
reference.
of clams.
Yeah.
Like yeah, just references everywhere. SpongeBob's bubble dance routine with the hippo there, quite impressive. And I think Squidward, although
Totally overlooked.
he doesn't like SpongeBob, super unfair.
Oh, yeah, he's not giving him the credit that he deserves. SpongeBob really came out here and performed a whole song and dance routine
With
with
a
this
bubble.
hippo. With a bubble.
And he
Squidward
allowed
just goes, mm-hmm,
and he
yeah."
allowed Gary to recite poetry. This is there was a lot of debuts on the list, but there's not names to a lot of these characters. So we have a lot of fish in the audience that this is the first time they're being seen. I'm not going to shout out their like fish number. They're listed
Fish
on this
number.
list. Incidental number 5, incidental number 2.
That's
Like,
what they're called.
as if I click on incidental F9, they're brought up with this woman, this striking fish.
With the Marge Simpson hair.
Yeah, see? There's a lot of those background characters. Some have been given names over the years that they use more frequently.
Didn't they give the My Leg guy a name?
Yeah, it's Fred.
'Cause Fred.
It's Fred.
Well, Fred's in this episode.
Fred is definitely in this episode somewhere. My leg is probably one of the longest running jokes of this of this series. Probably the only one that's lasted up until the new season. Although, and
Are they still pulling the my leg jokes even in the
There was
newest seasons?
well, I don't watch as much as a fan of I am of this show. I have in the last couple years, last like 5 or 6 years, I stopped really like new episodes I have to watch. I just disliked over time the reduction of these characters.
They really
to,
changed the design of the characters
the
too.
designs I'm fine with a little bit. But like each character had one trait that they've just melted into. Like Patrick, for example, who is cackling on the screen right now
Doesn't even get the jokes.
in the funny in probably the funniest part of this whole episode. Nepotism is alive and well. The first season he's dumb. Oh, the episode paused.
But he's
That's
lovably dumb.
He's lovably dumb, but he's more naive than he is just dumb.
Right. He just doesn't know.
But as the series goes on, he just becomes more inseparably dumb. SpongeBob, if you watch the first season, there's slower moments. He seems a bit more optimistic, but also just grounded. And as the show goes on, becomes more and more like pulled in different directions of optimism and kiddish and childish. And so
Yeah, they really had to find a way to strike the balance with
Right.
all those character traits, and I feel like they gave up on some of them as the series progressed. You know,
Yeah, so I stopped, but in this last season they brought back a lot of, they had an episode about Frank and Doodle coming back, Doodle Bob. They had an episode where the lady,
Doodle Bob.
the old lady in the chocolate episode had an episode.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, chocolate with nuts.
Oh
So she was
my
brought
gosh,
back,
I love
and then
that
they
one.
gave Fred his own episode, and it's called My Leg.
Huh.
They actually,
That's a cool bit of fan service. I like that.
yeah. So they've been doing that, and I believe it was the last season that Steven Hillenburg had his hand on, because he stopped after the first.
He didn't
movie.
like what the people turned his show
No.
into, right?
Look, there is I don't think the man has ever come out and said anything negative.
Yeah.
I think he wanted the show. I mean, the plan was that the show was going to end after the first movie, and he was going to bow out and said, like, even if they continue it, it needs new eyes, it needs fresh perspective and fresh people working on it.
I think that's really noble of him, actually.
Yeah, and the show went off in different directions, but then I think he was always a consultant. I think he was always kind of there on the hinges, but not really helping. And then for the second movie, he was brought back. He was like, "Do you want to come and help out in the second movie? Like, Paramount's throwing a lot of money
For Sponge Out of Water?
Sponge Out of Water." So he came back, and if you watch that movie, it is definitely a return to form in some ways.
Yeah.
And then he was, I guess, had in such a good time working on that, came back for the 10th season, and it was during that season that it was announced publicly that he was dealing with ALS.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that he came back and saw his creation one last time.
Yeah, got
in
to have his
his eyes,
hands
yeah.
on it and be, even just being imagine being like a young writer on that show and
Getting
he's
to
in the
meet
room
him.
with you
Yeah.
and you're pitching SpongeBob, like, oh man.
You are pitching SpongeBob to
Yeah, you're
the
pitching
creator.
SpongeBob episodes and seeing it. Man, the episodes. I want to do a whodunit. When
A SpongeBob whodunit?
a SpongeBob whodunit.
Oh my gosh. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, it would definitely. I would like think of that Family Guy episode, but just for kids.
With James Woods?
Yes,
That's gotta be an episode.
You mentioned
That's gotta
his-
be a thing.
his Squidward's impeccable,
Oh yeah, he has such a high
LED.
production value with the lights.
but then that bird.
And then
flying
there's
by
just
is
one
the
bird on a
worst.
string.
Do these fish even know the Grand Canyon or birds?
Yeah, where did Squidward get this backdrop?
I don't know, and I don't know why. Squidward is cultured enough that he probably knows about things up on the surface, but I don't think regular fish in Bikini Bottom are going to be like, that's a bird.
Right.
And that's the
And that's
Grand
why he's a
Canyon.
bad artist, because no one understands the references
Yes.
he's making.
Yes, he's misunderstood.
Oh, poor Squidward.
And he put on a leotard, too.
Yeah, you did. A
Come
nice
on.
blue leotard. And here comes SpongeBob's big moment on stage.
I will be honest. I thought about this for my talent show. I'm not
To
being-
make a mess on the stage and
Look,
mop it up.
I am not being David Spade about this.
Oh.
I am. There was a moment when it first came the idea of like being on a talent show. What if I partnered up with someone to have a bad set to get booze, but it ruins it because then I'd have to get the audience involved. Like,
you would. The
boo
audience
this
would
man,
have
like,
to
be
yeah.
in on it for it to work.
I'm not sure that that's a great idea, but I'm not sure that the audience would be all in on it. You know.
But you know
like,
what? The video
Would be
talent show
priceless.
that would because you can add in the effects.
You're right.
It would work at a
It
video
would totally
talent show.
work. Looks like
And this is a classic meme moment we have here with
the
one
the
like
switching.
thing.
Yeah.
One like thing and one dislike thing. And I'm surprised the amount of money that Mr. Krabs. Apparently, he wasn't happy up until he started charging $1 for a salad bar. Did you not charge these people to come in like a nominal
Yeah,
fee,
no
like $5
tickets at the door or something like
yeah,
that.
$5 or
I mean, people were eating food too, so they had to have ordered something.
There are some establishments out there that is free to go in, but you have to at least buy a drink.
That sounds like a Mr. Krabs thing to do.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I need to talk to Mr. Krabs. He could be making so
I
much
need
more
to
money.
know his business model now.
And that is Culture Shock.
What a great episode. I
it
really,
really
like that
is.
one.
It really is. I've watched it 3 times in the last week.
Even though it, oh my gosh, wow. Even though
Uh,
it didn't come out when I was alive yet, like that was still one of the first episodes I saw on reruns on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And I really
What year
loved
were you
it.
born?
I was born 2000. So
2000. Yeah, so you were 4 years old when the first movie came out.
I was. You're right.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your first movie in theaters?
My first movie in theaters was The Nightmare Before Christmas.
A re-release of that? What?
Was it a re-release? When did that movie come out? I remember
94.
I remember so vividly seeing that movie on the big screen and being terrified of how big Jack Skellington was.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad had to take me out of the theater because I kind of got a little
What's
too scared.
so crazy about that movie is that even though what company did it?
Disney.
Right. But when they released it originally, they released it, I believe, through Touchstone Pictures because Disney has, like, they own Miramax and they own, I think, Touchstone and they own
Yeah.
a few other smaller studios that movies that they don't want to put the Walt Disney brand on. They can-
As like an experiment, like, oh, we don't want this to come back and bite us, so
right,
we'll
but then
say
just
it's
seeing
Touchstone.
how not only how popular it is, the fact that every year they redecorate their Haunted Mansion attraction to be Nightmare Before Christmas.
It has such a cult following now.
Yeah, so it's just funny looking back and going like, you guys are slightly worried about this movie,
Yeah.
and now you're like, yes, give us all the money.
We knew all along.
The Hot Topic crowd is very powerful. Invader Zim knows that all too well. That's why when Nickelodeon, when they were first kind of kicking the hacky sack around to bring back Invader Zim in, like, I'm going to say 2009 or 2010, they put out a test DVD to see how well that would sell, and it exploded. And then I guess Jonan Vasquez, I remember when they were like, he came out and was like, yeah, they're thinking about it. They put out that DVD. And it sold well, but then they just came back and said it's too expensive of a show.
Oh,
And
you can't do that. You excited so many people.
I wanted to be in that boardroom to go, can you pull up the numbers on the amount of money you've made off of Zim merchandise and Hot Topic and use that as your budget? Because you guys for like 11 years
You
have
made
been
bank.
selling, yeah, Gurr t-shirts, Zim stuff.
Yeah, so what do they mean it's too expensive? I don't know.
They eventually brought it back.
Yeah, of course. And thank
they
God
had
they did
to,
that.
especially with Hey Arnold and Rocco, which I hope they do more of, but they seemingly slowed down on that idea, and there has definitely not been anything more announced. Although most of the shows, luckily a lot of them are in order from my pop collection that you get to see and the fans don't.
It is brilliant.
Thank you.
Breathtaking.
A lot of them have already had big projects or TV movies, and those shows, Hey Arnold, Rocco. Hey Arnold needed to be done because they ended the series on a cliffhanger.
Mhm.
Rocco and Zim are probably the most popular properties to not have like a TV movie or like big special, and that's.
Big extravagant things.
I mean,
for the
Zim had a
fans to love,
story
yeah.
that needed to be completed. Rocco didn't, but come on, who doesn't love Rocco's Modern Life?
I'm glad that they brought it back though, because it gives a whole new generation of kids to
yeah,
captivated by
yeah,
these
especially
cartoons.
they were like, give it to Netflix,
Yeah.
put it on Netflix.
Everyone has Netflix.
I absolutely love this episode, and it was so fitting to have you on because of our love for theater and acting and just
Absolutely, it's a perfect episode.
being on stage and showing off to people. You know, being like, That's kind of the idea of like stand-up comedians. Like,
Of like, just come watch how funny I am.
yeah,
Just
and
look
some
how
don't even need
great
to
I
try.
am.
Dave Chappelle doesn't need to come up and with jokes. He could just go up there and talk, and people will throw money at him,
That's
myself
pretty
included.
accurate. You're right. I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's hilarious, but
Yes, yes. So anything that you would like to plug before I let you go?
I'd just like to say that I am on a podcast called Take 47 with my friend Brendan Turner, coming out on YouTube on the TGB channel.
Ooh.
Yep.
So how do they find that? Just type in TGB capitals or
Yeah,
type out.
TGB Productions.
Boom.
TGB in capital. Yep.
So look that up on YouTube. And I always try to tell people, if you're listening to this and you actually do go and look up Cole's podcast, comment somewhere and say, I found you because of the SpongePod Squarecast.
Absolutely.
And that always makes my day. It's happened twice already where somebody I had on messaged me and was like, hey, somebody commented on one of my things.
That's gotta
for the
feel good.
episode. It was like, all right, even if it's one person, it's like, great.
Yeah,
Spreading
you just
love.
know that you touched someone's day.
Absolutely. All right, well, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks
I
for
will have
having
you-
me.
Of course, you're going to be on again. And it won't be months of you living here before that happens. I'm just going to spread stuff out. All right. I have no official end to shows.
Okay.
But I want you to give me your best, like, pirate arg. All right. I'm going to direct you, right?
Okay, yeah.
You're sailing the seven seas.
Sailing the seven seas.
Yeah, you're on and you've just come across land.
Let's come across line.
And this is an exciting arc. Action.
Yar! Land ho! How's that?
You're going to get the Tony.
Yes! I was worried. You had me for a second.
All right, everyone. Enjoy.
Bye.